All right. Well, it
Okay.
smells magnificent.
It does. Does it smell grapey to you? Do you smell grapes?
No, it smells very rich and yeasty.
Okay, so you've got your 7 cups of starter here. And that means you no longer need your high gluten flour because that's only used for the starter. We don't use that in the actual bread. So we're going to start with, what is your...
Okay, we start with 4 cups of grape starter.
Okay.
Now, I notice it's lumpy. Is
Yes,
that okay?
That is fine.
Lumps are okay?
That is fine. Lumps are okay. They work themselves out here.
So frothy and lumpy and smells yeasty is all good.
It's all good.
Got it.
Yep. So we're going to use 4 cups. And how much water?
1.5 cups of water.
And look what I did, Jamie. You would think after several years I would figure this out, but I just figured it out last week. I got an old cup and I marked it 4 cups and 1.5 cups because that's what I have to measure out so
Because
much.
the measurements have washed off the sides.
They have
and you
washed
can't
off
see
the-
it.
And I can't see it. Not that I could see it before, but okay, so that's 1.5 cups of water.
Those little handy kitchen secrets.
Yes, they are. But you know, when you do something many, many times, keeping all your tools together and keeping them complete is a real time saver.
It is. It is.
Okay.
Okay, now 3 cups of fresh ground flour.
Right.
So this is the stuff that you made up in your Vitamix.
Right.
And what kind of flour is this?
This is whole wheat.
This is whole wheat, like
Yes.
whole wheat white, whole wheat red. What kind of whole wheat?
Whole wheat.
Whole wheat. This is a special kind of wheat. It's a
This is
whole
Lori's
wheat.
whole wheat.
This is Lori's. Yeah.
I often use spelt too. I have spelt berries that I will often grind up and use as a
So
substitute.
what I gather is it doesn't matter. You're going to
No.
use the same ingredients, whether it's a white wheat or a red wheat or a spelt. Or
It's going to be that
an
if-
Emer.
for right, for these 3 cups, you can use you can use any whole grain that you like. But until you master the process of sourdough, I encourage you to use the whole wheat. You'll get the results that I do. Okay?
All right, next we have to have 3 cups of the King Arthur unbleached flour.
Right. 2 of them. I'm going to use a different stir at this point.
Ooh, the kitchen weapon.
Yes, the kitchen weapon. I don't even know what it's
Where
called.
did you get that?
I found it in my Christmas stocking. Okay, you would think with all that
Were you
space, no, you would think with all that space it could not do anything, but it's actually
It's a funny
wonderful.
little gadget.
It does, and it does a
But
great
you're right,
job.
it drops right through the center, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
drops through, and it doesn't, you know, the sticking to it is minimal.
Okay.
So that's 2 cups. I add in 2 cups, and I get my 3rd cup ready, and in that 3rd cup is when I put a tablespoon of salt in,
Okay.
my 3rd ingredient.
So you mix that right in with the flour.
Right.
Okay.
So when you're stirring it at this point, you want to just make sure all the flour is incorporated, which means you can't see the white dustiness of the flour. That means it turns the light tan, okay? And I am pretty much ready for another stage that I like to, that works well for me. You can continue to stir it in the bowl, but I find I can do a lot better job of incorporating the rest of the flour that needs to be put on if I've got it laid out. I've got plastic on my table, so I could do it on just that, or I have a pastry mat too, and that works well. Okay, this is my 1 cup, the last of the 3, my 1 cup with salt in it, and I'm just going to incorporate that with, do it like this.
Now, I find it hard to believe that tool is a bread tool. What is
It's
that?
called a pastry.
It's a pastry
It's
tool.
called a pastry knife, and so you can get them in different heights. This is the
Okay.
largest they have. Again, I found this in my Christmas stocking
Wow.
from my mom. Okay, so all this does is that keeps me from getting all sticky and floury, and not that that's a bad thing. Okay, so we've got everything in there, and the optional ingredients, you can add raisins, dried cranberries,
And now would be the
nuts.
time that you would incorporate that?
Yeah, a lot of people like to add it at this time. I usually add it earlier myself, but it seems like there's better results simply because when you put in dried fruit, it tends to absorb the moisture.
Right,
and
so it
suck right
alters
out.
your
It alters
recipe.
things, right. So this would be the time that you could add that raisins, dried currants, cranberries, seeds, nuts, cheese. Some people do cheese.
Lovely.
Okay, so you're thinking, okay, I've got it all in there, but read that next paragraph because it's important. Would you read that? Just the next line.
After above are all mixed together, begin to mix in about 1.5 cups more unbleached flour, a little at a time, kneading until smooth,
Okay.
which is going to be about 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so that's
you're
what we're
not
gonna
done.
do. I'm not done. And the reason I stopped there and point that out is because it seems like you can't get any more flour
does.
in there.
It looks like you're done.
But it's not truth. And in order to get the rise that you want, the rise that you need for this, you need to put the right amount of flour in. It all comes down to ratios. And this is a tried and true recipe, and I promise you, you get all of this in, and it will give you the rise you want. If for some reason your bread comes out and it's falling over the sides, you don't have enough flour in it. Or if for some reason it just stays totally flat, again, you don't have enough flour in it. So it's all a matter of ratios, and they've all been figured out for you, so just follow the numbers here. Okay? So when I do this, I can tell that it needs more flour because it's sticking to me. And the overall command here is keep putting the flour in, keep kneading until it's totally smooth and nothing comes off on your hand. So
Now, how does this work with a flour like spelt that doesn't have the same gluten content? Can you over knead a spelt?
I've never had that problem.
You've never done it. Okay.
And I do a lot of spelt.
Oh, that's encouraging.
Spread it out here, and I see that it's not smooth, it's rough, it's wet in some places.
So you're looking for smooth and
Yes,
dry.
looking for smooth.
Or not necessarily dry, just not wet.
Right.
Okay.
See how it's just forming into a nice
Nice
circle? I'm pushing all the dough on the inside to the outside. It's picking up the flour as it needs it. Okay.
Yeah, there's a sponginess to it now, not so much a wetness.
Okay, so what's the next?
Divide into 3 loaves and place in oiled pans.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is just take one and make one loaf out of it.
Well, that is a handy little tool now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a little wet here, so I'll put some flour on it. Knead this, and as you knead it, it just kind of forms its own shape. Okay, so I've got that ready for the pan. This is some refined coconut oil as a refined coconut oil. You can use butter, ghee, any kind of animal fat would work. I find this used the best. And then
Now, is it going to have animal flavor if I were to put chicken grease in there? Or?
Nope, it
Beef?
doesn't.
Okay.
It absorbs a little, I'm sure, but there's no flavor change. And I set it off into a warm place. I will cover it with plastic sheet. Often we're told in bread instructions to cover with towels, but the towel actually absorbs moisture from the bread. So you cover with oil and then cover with a plastic sheet. So once it's here to rise, in my kitchen it takes about 1 hour to rise. In your kitchen it might take 2 hours. It might take 30 minutes. It just all depends. But what you want it to do is to rise to about 1 inch above the rim before you place it in the oven to bake. Again, in my oven, 375 for 45 minutes. Yours might be a little bit more longer, a little bit shorter. You can just test that out. But you can tell that it's done completely when you pull it out. I will show you how. When you pull it out and tap on it. If it gives a good solid knock or tap, they say hollow, but I never understood that part. But good solid top, then it's done. You see it's browned on the bottom and it's got a nice browning on the top, then it's done.